Hello, everyone. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, Jacqueline. How
Good
are
morning
you?
over there. Very well. It's actually very sunny over here. What time is it over there?
It's in the morning over here. It's about 9 a.m. And I just want to thank everyone for joining, whether it's the morning, afternoon, or evening for you. We're super excited for today's event.
Yeah, yes, I am. It's past 5 over here, and it's been a really, really nice day. Thanks to everybody who's joining in. Welcome to the Azure Developers .NET Day 2024. But here's something about this. It's students edition. So we had some amazing Microsoft-led student ambassadors who for the past couple of weeks have been practicing and putting lots of effort to craft a beautiful event for you all who are currently joining. I had the opportunity to help these student ambassadors and pre-record their sessions so you'll be seeing all of the amazing stuffs that they have built. And Katie, it's always amazing to see what these student ambassadors keep doing, not so?
Yeah, they are so impressive. I took a look at a couple of the sessions and was totally blown away at what they're covering today. We have sessions about AI, ML, .NET Aspire, which I'm really excited to see the session for, and other cloud native technologies. So super incredible assortment. I think we have 5 sessions today. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. And it was really a difficult time trying to pick out these 5 sessions because there were loads of student ambassadors who wanted to share all of the insights, all of the beautiful things they've learned, all of their solutions with you all. But we wish we could have everybody here. Subsequent sessions, subsequent series of this will definitely have these student ambassadors. Okay, so Katie, should we dive in?
Yeah, I think we've been talking long enough. I'm super excited for our first session with Ayushi and Mega, which is building an Azure AI chat app with .NET. Let's kick it off.
And yeah, just before we get that rolling, if you have any questions, any comments, be sure to use the comment box. Don't worry, these amazing speakers would be in there responding to your questions, and would also be mentioning those questions there and responding to them depending on how much time we have. Okay, so let's dive straight in. Building an Azure AI chat app with .NET. You all would definitely love this. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, for whichever part of the world you're joining this live stream from. I'm Jaflet Wamo, and I am a .NET Cloud Advocate here at Microsoft, and I'm joining this live stream from Nigeria. Today, I have two amazing Microsoft Learn student ambassadors who are going to be sharing some amazing insights related to .NET and artificial intelligence with us. I have Ayushi and Mega. They are based from different countries and they have some beautiful insights to share with us. But I'll let them do their intros, so I'll pass it over to both of them.
Hello everyone, I'm Mayusa Singh, a Gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador from India.
Hello everyone, I am Megha Vishwakarma, Gold Student Ambassador, Learn Student Ambassador from India.
Great. I'm excited to have both of you on today's live stream. And I'm told you both are going to talk about how to build an Azure AI chat app with .NET. I'm really excited to see what you all have for us. So please, over to both of you.
So we are here to begin your adventure in crafting .NET application. In this session, we are going to discuss why to choose .NET to build AI application and information about Azure AI, types of what, and Ayushi will demonstrate how to create AI chat app with .NET. So without further ado, let's delve into that. So first is why to choose .NET application. So .NET is popular and versatile. It is widely used by millions of developers to create application which runs on different devices and in cloud. .NET have cross-platform compatibility. We can develop .NET application on Windows, Mac, Linux, and in cloud. .NET is open source and there is big community of developer. So if you got stuck, you can ask them. .NET has powerful development tool that will help you to test, debug, and deploy. .NET offer bunch of library like ML.NET, which is for machine learning. So next up is what is Azure AI services. Azure AI services enable a developer to build smart and advanced application. It provide a developer to build a wide ranges of functions and services and build intelligent application. So before creating chatbot, let's understand the classifications of chatbot. So first classification is rule based. Rule based chatbots are those which have predefined rule. Uh, we provide script and limited scenarios are there. For example, you might have seen chatbot in FAQ in customer services that provide answers on common questions. And next category is AI powered chatbots, which particularly use ML and NLP to understand the user response, and they are capable to handle more complex interaction. For example, GPT and virtual assistant. So now Ayushi will demonstrate how to develop an .NET application.
So before we get started, you will need few things like an active Azure subscription, Visual Studio with .NET SDK installed, Azure Developers CLI, access to Azure OpenAI services, Docker in VS Code or in system. So if you have already access to Azure OpenAI, or if you have filled this form earlier, then you can skip this step. But if you're new to Azure OpenAI, then you need to fill this form to get access of Azure OpenAI services. In this session, we are going to follow this documentation. So after following all the prerequisites, we are going to clone this repository in our Visual Studio. So I'm opening my Visual Studio, and here I will clone the repository. Now after cloning, we will move to source and quick start directory. We will open an integrated terminal in quick start directory. Then we'll start write edit up. We will write the environment name. So here I'm taking the environment name. Then we'll choose the subscription. Then location. This may take some minutes. Till then, I can explain you what AZ-Up can do. This provisions the Azure OpenAI resources. It may take several minutes to create the Azure OpenAI services and deploy the module. Now it's done. So to avoid any error, we will manually input the script. So now So to avoid any error, we have manually written the script. So this script postprovision.ps1 execute to set the .NET user secret used in the application. It may take 1 to 2 minutes. So now the .NET AI app have user secrets configured, and now they can be tested. So we will open an integrated terminal in Hiker AI. Then we will start the app. So before we move to the output, let me explain you the code. Okay, this section retrieves necessary configuration settings like API endpoint and key from secure location. This line initializes the chat completion service using Azure OpenAI services. So this is the system prompt. This set up the initial context for chat, exploring the role and behavior of the AI. These line simulates the user initial conversation and provide details about their hiking preferences. So now we'll see the output. Here you can see the system prompt. Here we have defined the AI that how it will reply. So system prompt will directly direct the chat app behavior and ensure that the generated output align with the integrated goals. Now, imagine you are from Montreal area looking for a easy hike. You don't mind driving a bit and get there and prefer a hike under 10 miles round trip and want it to be isolated and bug free possible. So here I have given the input that about this. Then the assistant based on my uh, input given three recommendations for my hike. Here you can see these are the three recommendations given by the AI chat app. So you can change the system prompt and you can see the changes in the output. You can play with this here in the code. If you change this, you will get the different output. So now we have covered all the setups to build an Azure AI chat app with .NET. So we have covered all the setups to build an Azure AI chat app with .NET. So now, when you no longer need the sample application or resources, then we prefer you to remove the deployment and resources. You can do that by using AZT down command. It may take several minutes. Okay, so we're done deleting the resources. Thank you for attending this session.
And thanks to you both for showing us briefly how to do this. I mean, it's pretty cool. Well, to everybody who wants to try this out, the link to this specific learning documentation will be in the description of this video. Plus, we have a learning collection for everything related to Playwright, .NET, and AI that you all can check out. That link would also be included in the description of this video. Please be sure to also check it out, and let's do some cool stuff related to .NET and AI. Thank you again, Ayushin and Miga, for joining this session.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending this session.
And we hope that you will create this application as well.
Yeah, I definitely would. Okay, everyone. Bye.
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 Wow. What an awesome kickoff to this event. And Jofflet, wow, two places at once. It's crazy to see you
Yeah.
here.
Actually, I'm wearing the same shirt. What a coincidence. So it's like, oh, nice.
You just transported on over. But
Yeah.
seriously, Ayushi, Mega, that was an incredible session. Thank you so much. And like the other Jofflet had mentioned, we will have all of their resources and materials in the chat of this video. And I'll be sure to grab that link and send it out in the chat as well.
Definitely. And something else I loved was how easy it was to create your AI application. Thanks to them for mentioning different type of chatbots. That was really, really nice. I mean, pretty easy for anyone who needs to learn about the cool stuffs that they can do with .NET. Okay, so let's dive on to our next session where we'll learn about containers and how you can bring to life utilizing .NET 8. Vinicius, containers, to containerize your .NET 8 dreams, Azure Web Apps meets Docker. Katie, are you excited about this?
I'm super excited. Let's get into it.
Great. Hello, everyone. It's another beautiful day to learn about .NET and Azure. And in this episode, we have Renicius Fortini, who's going to talk about how you all can discover the power of Docker and Azure Web Apps with .NET 8 in a flash, being able to containerize your .NET applications with Docker. Hi, Renicius. Would you like to tell us about yourself?
Hi guys. So my name is Vinicius Pagot Fostaini. I'm from Brazil. I'm Microsoft MVP in Azure category and developers technology. And I also Microsoft student ambassador in gold level. That's it.
Amazing. I'm really excited to see how this is going to go. And I'll pass it over to you, Renicius.
Thank you so much. So guys, in today's presentation, we are going to talking about how to containerize your .NET application, .NET 8 Dreams, when Azure Web Apps meet Docker. So basically, we will discuss about some concepts around the Dockerization or containerization of the application. We will discuss about the GitHub Actions. We will talking about how to automate the process of creation of a Docker image, and that's it. Let's go. So first things first, it's important to understand some concepts about the containerization. So what is containerization? Basically, containerization is the ability to package your software into a container. And what is a container? Basically, container, it's a small package in a executable package of your application. I mean, it's your application and all the dependency package in one small box to execute. Okay, so basically we have some characteristics that it's possible to define the containerization, like the encapsulation, isolation, consistency, portability, and container runtime. Okay, encapsulation is the ability to encapsulate your application and its dependencies into one box. Okay, so everything that's necessary to execute your application is inside the container. Isolation. Basically, when we have the container, the execution of one container will not affect the execution of another container. So this is the isolation, okay? Consistency basically is the concept that the application will behave in the same way across different environments, like the application will behave in the same way in development application, in development environment, and production environment, and even your local machine. Okay, and the portability is the ability to execute your container, the container of the application, in different environments. Like it's possible to execute in your local machine, it's possible to execute in a dev environment, production environment, in AKS, and every service that will contain a container runtime. Okay, and lastly, we have the container runtime. That is the engine that will be responsible to execute the container. In this situation, we have the Docker engine that will be responsible to execute the containers. Okay, so basically, this is the containerization. This is an explanation about the containerization. So we have the container A, B, C, and so on, and we have a Docker layer that will be responsible to execute the containers, like to execute the container A, B, C, and Docker will create an interface with the OS, the host operating system. I mean, can be a Windows, can be a Mac OS, can be a Linux. So this is the way that we containerize our application. Okay, very simple. The second thing that we need to discuss, we need to understand, and we will use in our demonstration here, it's the CI/CD pipeline. We will use the GitHub Actions to automate the process. So basically, the CI/CD pipeline, we have the continuous integration and we have the continuous deliver or deployment. Okay, and basically, a CI/CD pipeline is a sequence of steps, automated steps to do something. Basically, this is a demonstration of CI/CD pipeline. We have the build here, we have the test here, and we have the deploy to production. The build and test and continuous integration part, okay? And the continuous delivery represents the deploy to production. And finally, we use the Azure Web App as our service to host our application. So we have some characteristics that defines Azure Web Apps. So with Azure Web Apps, it's possible to build, to deploy, and scale. It's possible to define an outscaling. It's possible to do a manual scaling. Okay, we have support for multiple programming languages, C#, Java. I don't remember the entire list, but Python. And the last thing is Docker container support. This is the characteristic that we need to execute our container. Okay, we use the Docker support, we use the Azure Web App to deploy our container, and that's it. And let's go to the code. So, one moment. That's okay, that's perfect. One more? One last, yeah. So basically, this is our .NET 8 application. Okay, I created this application here. It's basically the template provided by the .NET CLI. Nothing special. It's just the template, like you can see in the program. We have the weather forecast here, the default endpoint exposed by the web API. I use this one, okay, just to understand and to explain how to create a image from this application, okay? So we have here a Docker file. Yes, that's okay, perfect. Okay, this is good. So we have a Docker file here. We have the base image where we expose the 8.8 port, the default port of the .NET 8. That's different from the .NET 7, that the default is 8 port, okay? We have a step here for build. So we have the .NET Restore and .NET Build. The third step here is related to the publish, .NET Publish here. And the last step is basically the publication and the endpoint of our .NET application. Okay, so we are using a multi-staging build here. Each stage you'll be responsible to do a specific thing, and finally the last stage is responsible to create, to define some important things to execute the application. Okay, so before to understand how to execute this Docker file, it's important to say that instead of create the entire infrastructure, like I mentioned that we needed to use the Azure Web Apps, instead of going to the portal, the Azure portal, clicking the button to create the Azure resource, I defined here, I'm using the infrastructure as code, like in the Terraform. So I defined the resource group here. I defined the Azure container registry that will be responsible to store our image. Okay, I defined here the Azure Web App using the Linux as well. Okay, I will not explain the concepts about the infrastructure as a code, but this is a kind of plus to you to understand how to automate the creation of your infrastructure. Okay, in this file here, I just defined the Terraform version, and we have here the pipeline that is responsible to deploy the infrastructure. I will not explain step by step in the pipeline, but in this pipeline, we have the init, the plan, and apply that you finally create the infrastructure. Okay, so basically here we can see the resource group that I defined in the Terraform. I created the app service, I created the Apple service plan, and the container registry, like here. So this is the container registry. This is the service that will be responsible to store our container. Okay, so basically you can see here we don't have any image here yet. Okay, we will create now the image, but the first part is to understand what's going on here in the pipeline. This is the pipeline that will be responsible to execute the Docker file, store the image into Azure Container Registry, and deploy the image in Azure Web App. Okay, so basically we have a trigger here that will be triggered. The pipeline will be triggered every time a Git tag will be pushed to the repository. Okay, I'm defining here the image name like the product service. I'm using the GitHub registry here. It's a plus to understand how to store the image in a GitHub container registry as well. But the main point here is to use the Azure container registry. Okay, so I'm using the Azure registry here, the name of my registry, defined in the portal, like here, the name of the login server. Okay, and in here I'm specifying the name of the web app instance that I needed to deploy the image. Okay, let's skip the GitHub package because basically the steps are the same as the Azure registry here. So basically we have the checkout, that is the download of the repository. We have the setup Docker build, a dependence of Docker, login to the Azure Container Registry to be able to store our image there. We have this tracked metadata. When we define at least the prefix of the name of the image, like it's composed by the name of the registry and basically the name of the image. So in this situation, this will be the name of the registry plus the name of the image, product service. And finally, we have the last step that will be responsible to execute the Docker file. We have the build and push image. We have the context here. We needed to, this context, we inform that the Docker file will be in the root of the project, and this will be the tag. And the last part here is basically the deployment, where we needed to log in into Azure, and after we needed to deploy the image into our Azure Web Apps. Okay, so let's do this one. Not now. So to execute the pipeline, let me see here. You can see that I executed the infrastructure pipeline before. Okay, just to be sure that we have enough infrastructure to start our image. Okay, so basically we can execute manually here, just clicking in the run workflow, but we don't have this, we have this possibility here to build and deploy, but we need to inform at least a Git tag, and we need to inform here. So let's use a Git tag, like I already created the 0.1 as a test, okay, but let's use the 1.0.0 and git push 1.0.0. Okay, and perfect. We have here, and probably we have the execution here with the tag 1.0.0 here. So let's take a look on it. So it's setting up the Docker build, logging into Azure Container Registry, metadata. It's executing the Docker file now. So simple to execute the Docker file. Okay. Exporting to image. In this part is exporting to Azure Container Registry. It's publishing now to the Azure Container Registry, and we can see here the image that we just created in the repository. We can see the product service. If we click on the product service, we can see the tag that we defined, 1.0.0 here. Okay, it's so simple. And after this, we have the deployment of the container registry here. It's basically in the login of Azure, just to understand, we have here, it's possible to see our package here. It's in your account, and it's possible to see the product service inside the GitHub as well. Okay, and it's possible to see the 1.0.0 version or tag. Okay, so let's go back to the repository here. So basically it is executing yet here. It's deploying the service. So let's access the service here, web app here. Okay, so we already have the container image defined here, like the tag 1.0.0. Okay, let me see. Uh, yes, the pipeline is completed. Okay, and now we have the flow here. It will take some time to download the image, to do the things related to the Docker. Okay, so it can take at least 1 minute until we're ready to receive the requests. Okay, so basically, this is the way that we can create some Docker images from our .NET 8 application. Okay, we have a good repository here. We have the automated process to create the infrastructure. We have the automated process to create the Docker image, to store and deploy the application into the Azure Web App, and we have the Docker file. That's the core. That is basically a receipt. It's a sequence, step by step, how to create the image. Okay, basically, let's see. Yes, and if you see Swagger here, we can see the Swagger, our application running in Azure Web App. Okay, so basically this is the demonstration. Let's go back to the slide. And here we have some topics to research that is important to improve your knowledge. Okay, so GitOps, we use the GitHub since we are using the infrastructure as a code. We are using the Terraform, so it's important to understand how Terraform works, what is Terraform, okay? GitHub Actions, we are using the GitHub Actions as a CI/CD pipeline. We can use the Azure DevOps as well, Azure Pipelines as well, okay? And we have the Docker here, okay? And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Any questions, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Okay, if you need any support, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Okay, thank you so much. See ya.
Great. Thank you very much, Renicious, for this amazing session. It was really, really cool. I love the way you explained all of the concepts related to containers, especially for those who probably are hearing of containers, Docker for the first time. Thank you so, so much. For everyone who's currently watching this, if you need to try out all of the different things that Renicious has tried out, the link would be in the description. So please go on and continue learning using the Learn module that will be there. Thank you again, Renicious, and let's move on to the next session.
Wow, another great session down.
Yeah. Oh, containers, Docker. It shouldn't sound weird for those who are hearing of it for the first time. As I mentioned, you can always come over here to learn more, to try to understand. We have the Learn modules this session, which is going to explain this. How did you find it, Katie?
Amazing. Renicious, again, thank you so much for delivering the session and for breaking down all of those terms in the beginning and really walking us through how to approach containerizing your .NET 8 applications. I found it super easy to follow, and I will definitely be trying that out after today's event.
Yeah, sure. And just before we dive into the next session, I just want to acknowledge some amazing persons who are currently joining in. Clifford is joining in from Ghana. Thank you very much, Cliff, for joining in. And I'm glad you all are also enjoying this entire stream. For our next session, we're going to talk a little bit about machine learning. And for those of you who are not conversant with machine learning, in .NET, you have the ML.NET Builder. Hamna is going to take us through building our first machine learning model using the ML.NET Builder. Something else exciting to learn, Katie, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm super excited for this one in particular. I don't know a ton about machine learning, and I know Hamna is going to teach us all about it and how to get started.
So let's dive
Hello,
in.
everybody, and welcome to Azure Developers .NET Day Student Ambassadors Edition. And in this session, I have Hamna, who is a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. In her session, she's going to talk about how you all can build your first machine learning model using the Machine Learning.NET Model Builder. Hamna, would you like to take over?
Yes, thank you so much, Jaflet. Okay, so welcome everyone to Azure Developers NET Day 2024. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Hamna Khalid, and I'm a Beta Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador from Pakistan. Presently, I'm in my third year of pursuing a bachelor's degree in software engineering at Fatma Jinnah Women University. So, in today's session, I'll walk you through the process of building your first machine learning model using ML.NET Model Builder in Visual Studio. Now, to achieve this objective, we will be building and training a sentiment analysis app that can predict whether the text from the customer reviews is a negative sentiment or a positive sentiment. Okay, so this session is actually a step-by-step guide, starting from building your development environment to training your model and then evaluating your model's performance. Each step will be discussed and explained in detail so that we have a smooth and rewarding experience. So without any delay, let's get started. Okay. So first thing first, you have to install Visual Studio 2022, and while installing Visual Studio 2022, you must make sure that .NET desktop development workload is selected along with the optional ML.NET model builder. So after enabling ML.NET model builder in Visual Studio, you have to install Microsoft ML.NET model builder. Now, to create a .NET console app in your Visual Studio, open Visual Studio and click create a new project. Then you have to select console app project template and click next. Okay. Now name the project as my ML app and ensure that place solution and project in the same directory is unchecked. Now go to next and choose .NET 8.0 long-term support as your framework and click create. Okay, so it's creating our project. Okay, now we'll be adding our machine learning model. So now to add a machine learning model, go to your My ML app repository in Solution Explorer, left click on My ML app project, go to add and click on machine learning model. So a new item dialog box will appear in front of you. So make sure that machine learning model ml.net is checked. Now name this model as sentiment model. Okay, and then add this model. Okay, so to build a sentiment analysis model, you first have to select a machine learning scenario. So our ML model actually supports several machine learning scenarios, but we'll go with data classification because we actually want to predict whether the sentiment is a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment. So after choosing our scenario, we'll select our training environment. So many scenarios actually support training in Azure, but classification currently only supports local training. So keep this local CPU selected and then go to next step. Okay, so in data, we have to prepare our data. So first we have to download sentiment label sentences from UCI machine learning repository. We have to unzip this sentiment labels sentences.zip file, and then there is a file named Yelp label.txt. We have to save this Yelp label.txt file in our MyML app repository. Let me do this. Okay. Now, in add data section, we have to choose file as our data source type, which is actually the Yelp label.txt file. Then we have to browse this Yelp label.txt file. Once it's selected, it will show the preview of our data in the data preview section. So let it process. All right. So this is our data preview. There are two columns in our data, column 0 and column 1. In column 1, there is actually a comment that is left by the user, and in column label, there are the sentiments of that text. So here 1 stands for a positive sentiment and 0 stands for a negative sentiment. So once our data preview is shown, we have to select a column. We have to, in the column to predict label, we have to select column 1 because we want to predict our sentiment that will be a positive or a negative one. Okay. Now we'll be moving to next step. So after preparing our data, it's time to train our model. So in this section, we have to adjust the time to train to 60 seconds. You may increase or decrease this time to train. It depends on whether you find the model during the training time. So after this, start training. It will take around 60 seconds to complete training. Okay, so once our training will be completed after 60 seconds, we'll be able to see our training results. Here we have the best macro accuracy. It is the accuracy of the best model that our model builder was able to find during the training process. Then we have the best model. This is the algorithm that performed the best during the training model. And then we have the training time. The training time is actually the total amount of time our model took to train this model. And then we have the models explored. These are the number of models that were explored by our model builder during the training time. And in the end, there will be a generate code. And this actually will show the total number of and the names of those files that were generated during this training session. Okay, so let it end. So our model is currently generated code behind files that will actually be shown in generate code. Okay, so our training has been completed. In next step, we have to evaluate our model. So in try your model section, there is a text box which is pre-filled with the sentence with the first sentence of your dataset, which is crust is not good. You can modify this input if you want to test different predictions, but I'll go with this, and then we have to predict this sentiment. Okay, again, I'm saying that 1 means a positive sentiment and 0 means a negative sentiment. So here, crust is not good is a negative sentiment. It means our model is able to predict that 86%, while there's 1 for 14%. So our model is doing well. So there's a last step in which we will be consuming our model. So to consume our model, we have to replace this program.cs code with the code that I'm going to show you right now. Okay, let me copy paste this code because I'm not writing this code. It will take much time. Okay, so here's the code. So let me tell you about a little bit about this code. In this code, I'm actually giving a sentiment as an input, and our model will be able to predict that sentiment into two categories, either positive or a negative category. So after this, it's time to debug our model. So let's debug it. It will take a little time. All right, so that's it. Congratulations, we have built our first machine learning model in ML.NET with Visual Studio Code. So this is our result. We have given our model a sentiment and it was able to correctly predict it, where the sentiment was this restaurant was wonderful, and that is actually a positive sentiment. So before I end my today's session, I want to share with you guys some resources. So let me share my screen. All right, so if you're a beginner and you want to learn more about these free open source cross platform, these resources will actually help you out to get the acquired skills to integrate those advanced machine learning functionalities into your .NET applications. So head over to these resources. I'm sure that they will help you out. So that was all from my side, and thank you so much for having me, and over to you, Jaflet.
Thank you so much, Hamna. That was so cool. I mean, I never knew it was so easy to build a machine learning model. We didn't have to do much. We just did this in about 5 minutes. Boy, it was so cool. And thanks for sharing all of those amazing resources. The link would be in the description of this video. So be sure to check it out so you can build some amazing machine learning models like Hamna. See you all in the next session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hamna. I can see you in the comment section. That was amazing. I mean, for me, I think it was the fact that we didn't even have to go outside Visual Studio. How cool was that?
Yeah, that was an excellent session, Hamna. Thank you so much. And yeah, it was cool that you were using Visual Studio. I saw a couple of the other sessions using Visual Studio Code as well. So it's great that you can really use your preferred editor and IDE for a lot of these sessions.
Yeah, without having to move much, without having to, do lots of things, you can get started on your journey of with machine learning. Great. Thank you very much, Hamna. We appreciate that. For our next session, Katie, would you like to talk about this?
Yeah, definitely. So we're lucky enough to have Isaiah leading our next session, and it's going to be how to use Azure App Service to deploy your .NET apps with GitHub. So I'm super excited for this one. I know Isaiah is going to crush it and teach us a lot about how we can do this in a very short 10 or 15 minutes.
Welcome to another episode of Azure Developers .NET Student Edition. And in this episode, I have Isaiah. He's going to talk about how you can utilize Azure App Service to deploy your .NET application using GitHub. That sounds really cool. He's going to talk about Azure App Services for those of you who are not conversant about it. And we're going to build something exciting. Hi, Isaiah. How are you doing today?
Yep, I'm good. Thank you for having me here. I'm really glad to be here. Talking to the community. It's a great opportunity. Yeah. So,
Great.
yeah.
Would you like to tell us about yourself just before we get started?
Yeah, my name is Isaiah Clifford. I am a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. Currently I'm in the beta version. I am a .NET developer and also a technical writer, which I normally write for Free Code Camp, and I write about .NET, Agile, and I also have some YouTube channel. I normally do C#, Agile, .NET content over there. Yeah.
That's cool. So without wasting time, let's dive in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So today is going to be a very exciting So if you are watching us, we are going to give you best of it. So basically, we are going to talk about app services, which is also a resource or a service on Azure that can help you as a business or even a developer to it will take the workload that you need to go through and then all the infrastructure you need to set it up, and then what you need to do is that you need to focus on writing your code. So that is what we are going to talk about today. So basically, we are going to talk about how you can deploy that one using GitHub. So you have your app, and then anytime you make changes, you want it to reflect on your app, which is on the production one. So we are going to use the continuum integration, and then you set your pipeline. And sometimes developers go through hell before they can do this. Now with app service, you just need a few clicks, and then everything will be solved for you. So let's get started and have some overview about what app service is all about. So app service is a fully managed platform building to deploy and scale web apps. So basically, if you are building a web app, either your API, your React, your Node, you can just deploy that one on app service with just a few clicks. So you don't need to worry about how you can set up your environment and everything. So the app service has those infrastructure in place already. So what you need to do is that you need to connect it to your GitHub, Azure DevOps, your bucket, or any platform that you're using, and then you'll be able to deploy from there to app service. So basically, the app service is a platform as a service that helps us to build, deploy, and scale. So when your app is also, you are getting more demand, you can scale this app, and also there is auto scaling that will help you to increase your demand, or it will scale as your demand increase. And it's not about only .NET that you can deploy. You can also deploy Java, PHP, Python, and anything that you can think of. But you see, these languages is here, but then sometimes we say Java, you may think that you cannot deploy Spring Boot, right? So Java, Spring Boot based on Java, so you can deploy Java application here on the app service. And ideally is for web applications, REST APIs. So when you are building the APIs, you want a place where you can store, or you can host your web API so that when the user make a request, the speed, the efficiency, and everything, the scalability will be easy for you as a developer or as a business owner. So you can use this app service to do that. So basically, we have some key features of app service. One thing is that when you have your Azure DevOps setup, or you have your GitHub, which is GitHub is common to most people, what you need to do is that you need to create your repo, and the rest, you just connect it to your Azure, and then you just select your repo, and then you do everything. It can also auto scaling, so automatically when your app, based on demand, it can scale up, and then higher availability is also there. So your app is running 24/7, and then Azure is giving you 99.99% that your app will be running. And then we also have your custom domain. If you have a domain name, you can connect it to app service, and then it will be easier for you. So basically, if you want to create or you want to host your app on app service, the first step is that you have to create your application. And in here, I'm saying that .NET Core application, but it can be your React, Node, Python, whatever you are using. And then you create your GitHub repository, and then make sure you put everything on GitHub, because or if you're using Azure DevOps, Bucket, whatever you are using, you can use that one. And then when you want to deploy it, it's kind of easy. So we just go to the app service. When you create your app service, which we are going to do, and then you select your repo, and the app service will do everything for you. All the underlying infrastructure will be doing it for you. So that's how basically you are going to use your app service in the basic concept. There is a lot of configuration if you want, but it's be advisable as a developer. Maybe you can stick with the basic configuration. And then if you are a company too, you have advanced configuration, you can also do it there. So you have way of scaling it. So Mega, we are going to do the demo. I'm going to show you how you can create ASP.NET Core. With this one, we are going to use Blazor so that we can see the interface. So what we are going to do is that I'm going to end this right now here, and we are going to bring our this is a Visual Studio. So I'm going to create a new project. Yeah, at this point, we are going to create ASP.NET Core app. So I want to create a Blazor app, which is going to be easy. So I'm going to name this Azure 2024. Maybe let me add this to it. Leave everything default, and then let's go ahead and create this. So what we are going to do is that we are going to have some kind of a web page where we can use. So we have this here. So now we have a project. working. So basically what we are doing is that we have created a simple browser app which has some kind of home page, and it's just have some kind of counter, and it's saying that welcome to a new app. So we are going to put this into app service. So we have this here. What we are going to do is that we are going to create a repository from here, because before we can get our app on app service, we need to put it to Azure DevOps or GitHub. So in here on Visual Studio, you can create a repository as simple as that. So I click on that, and then there will be a pop-up for me to create my repository. So I'm just going to leave everything default, and then I'm going to say create. So this is going to create a repository, and then you push it to GitHub. So before we do that, now we are creating a repository, but let's go to our Azure portal. So this is our Azure portal. Right now, I don't have anything here. So, one thing that you can do is that you can go to all resources in here, but you see that we have an app service here. So I'm going to click on app service. So click on app service, and then right now we don't have any app service. So we are going to create an app service. And then here we have web app, static web, and then we have web app plus database. So that you are API, you have a database, and putting a database on Azure is very, very easy. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a web app, because we created a web app. So we are going to click on that one. So we are going to create a web app that will help us to deploy what we have on GitHub. And one thing I need to do is I need to create a resource group. Right now, I don't have any resource group. So I'm going to say Azure, maybe 2024. Let me make it small. 2024, like this. 2020 is cool. Something like that. So right now, we have this. I'm going to give it a name. So you need to also give it a name. And when you give it a name, it's going to take the Azure website.net, right? So something like that. So I'm going to say that Azure 2024, something like this, 2024. So Azure 2024. So something like this. And then we have 2014 instead, right? So 2024. And then what we are going to deploy is code. So you can deploy your container or your static app. And I'm going to use .NET 8 here, and I want to put this on Linux. So I'm going to do that. And one thing is that, you see, we are going to leave the rest default. So if you have a database, you can also configure your database here. But one thing that we need to do is that we need to come here and say that we want to enable our continuum development. So we want to enable that so that when we make changes to our code, then the GitHub action can put it here. So when at this point, I have connected my GitHub to Azure. So if you have not, you will get a prompt to do that. So I'll select my account, and then the repo will come in. So what I can do is that I can then say that I want to go in here to GitHub and check if the repo is indeed created. So I can hit this, and then I'll go to my GitHub right here. So I'm going to check for the name of the repo and everything. So in here, you see we have this repo here. We are going to deploy this. So let's go back to our Azure, and then we want to select for a repository. So what we are going to do is that we are going to search for that repository we just created. So let's go down like this so that we can see it clearly. So like this, okay, here we can see it. So this is it. We click on that, and then the branch that we want is master. So you can create a branch that you want to deploy from here. So now we are done for networking. We are just leaving everything default, and then we are going to hit review and create and check if all the validation will pass. The point is that you can create an app service without even adding your GitHub to it. So when you are done, there is app center, development center, you can deploy over there. But I always like it this way, so that whilst it's creating your GitHub workflow for you. So I'm going to hit create, and this time around, it's going to create everything for us. So when we go to GitHub, right now, you see that this is the repo, and then we don't have any GitHub action workflow here. Everything here is empty, but we are creating something on app service. So very soon, you see that if everything passed, we are going to have the GitHub action workflow, which as a developer is going to take you, long time, a lot of time to configure all of this. So we can go back to our app service is creating. So it's going to take little time, but it's going to create. So we can go back to our GitHub like this here, and you see we do have this repo. Still, when we refresh, we don't have the GitHub action workflow configured because we are still creating our app service. So what app service does is that it's going to take all the infrastructure, the workload that you need to do as a developer. You need to configure the GitHub action pipeline and everything yourself. So the app service is going to do everything for you with just a few clicks. So you see, we are just, it's created. So we can go to resources here. Let's go and check. So when we go back to GitHub, now let's refresh here and check. And then you see that right now we have an action flow. So when you click on this, we can go to GitHub action and you see that now we have action working, right? So we have GitHub action running right now here. So it means that for us to do this work, the app service is doing everything for us. We can click on that. You see, we are done building here and it's trying to deploy. So we can go back to our Azure and in here, we can go to Azure is trying to load for us here. Let's go back. So now in here, when you create your app services, we have this control plan. We have this development center here. Here, you can deploy everything here. You can create the app service and later on deploy it here. But here too, you can monitor what is going on. So you'll be able to see messages if there is an error, everything in here. So you see that we have everything going on. And then you see that now our action is in progress. So it means that we are still working on it. So the GitHub action is still working on it. It's not done yet. So now it's still deploying. We are done building. So when it's deployed, now everything is deployed. So we go back to our Azure here, and then let's go back to the overview. So when we go back to here, you see that we have a lot of URL and everything here. And now we have our GitHub, the GitHub repo is here. And one thing is that if you have a domain, you can also use that. You can use your custom domain and then you have your default domain. So we can add that one, very simple. But right now we have a default something created for us. So we want to click on it. And when you click on this for the first time, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to come, it's because you are making a request to the server. So it's now fetching all the data in here. So you can go ahead and it will come. So when it's done, we'll be able to see our web page here working. So we are waiting for it to done fetching all the information for us. Yeah. So for the first time, that's how it's going to be, but it's going to come. So we now have everything here. So this is, you can scale it. So as I said, if you want to scale it, you can stop it. And then you can also restart it. So let's say if you don't want to use this anymore, you can stop it. You can download all the published file. So this is very, very, very easy. So you see now we have this. This is the page, the app that we created. So we have the home page, which is saying that welcome to new app. We have our counter here. We have this weather, getting a random weather data. So now we have deployed our app. It can be web API, it can be your React or Python app. But you are working, so you want to go ahead and then make changes to your app. So in here, I'm going to say that I want to make change in a commit and see if the continuous delivery is going to work. So I'm going to say that Azure, let's see, Azure section, right? Azure and GitHub section. So something like this. We are changing this. So right now, when we open our app, this is the URL. This is hosted on Azure. So you see that in here we have welcome, and then even I can change this to, let's change this to Azure instead of hello world. And then let's try to commit this. So let's do this. Okay, good. And then we go back to our visual gates and see that we want to add commits. So we see that adding something, adding some. Okay, just trying to put something there. And I'm going to save, and then we're going to push. But one thing that you need to take note of when we are doing this, that we have created a GitHub action flow on GitHub. We don't have it on a local repo, so it will pull it before you can do that. So I'm going to push this. So we have pushed this. Let's go back to GitHub and check it up. So this thing is showing up. So publish, we want to push. We are syncing and then you publish. So we are fetching what we have on GitHub before it will push it. So we can go back to our GitHub and then check it out. So this is a GitHub. Let's go back here. Then let's check the action. Right. So now you see that we have new action. So now new action is working. We have created a new action. So you see right now it's building. So you can do that. Anytime you make changes, you push it to the master, because when we're creating the app service, we said we will do everything on the master. So now everything is trying to build. So you can check the workflow here. So it's building, and when it's done, it's going to publish everything. And then when we refresh our page, we are going to see different stuff every day. So we are right now done. So we start deploying. So it's trying to deploy everything to the app service on Azure. So that is one thing here. So yeah, okay, now we are getting it. So we can go back here. Let's see if everything is done. So deploy, it's not done yet. So it's trying to push this to Agile web app for us. So yeah, and then it's done. So post Agile logins. So you can monitor it. I mean everything in here was is deploying. So let's go in here. It's done, right? So deployment is done. Then when we go to our app service, let's go to the deployment center here, and then let's see what is happening. You see that it will show us the kind of development we have done so far. But so it's trying to log all the info. So you see that we have a lot of things here. So this, whatever happens, you also get the logs here. So as a business owner, you can monitor what is happening in your app. And then let's go back to this right now here. I'm going to go back to our browser and then trying to get this. So in an app, let's go back down like this, and then let's go here. When we refresh right now, you see we are going to get Azure, right? So the change that I made here is now working. This is what we used to have on our local, and now it's working here with just a few click, right? So this is how you develop. So you can continue. I mean, you can anytime you make changes, it's going to come here to the app service. App service take. So this is how you deploy your app. I mean, to app service without going through stress. I mean, setting up all the CDI pipelines and everything yourself. So you can build your React app, your Node. I mean, your .NET API, and then your mobile backend, everything, and then you put it here. And the app service is going to take it and then run it for you. So you don't need to stress yourself, right? So the infrastructure, everything is being taken care of. So this is how you do it. Yeah.
Now that was so cool. Thank you very much, Isaiah, for showing us how easy it can be to actually deploy our web application using Azure App Service. I mean, it was so easy the way you explained all the concepts, the different meaning of words, and how these students can actually go on their journey. For those who would love to actually try it out, don't forget to check out the Microsoft Learn resources that will be shared in the link in the description of this video, and be sure to build your too. See you all in the next episode of Azure Developers .NET Day Student Edition. And that was so cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Isaiah. I'm blown away, number one. And I'm also blown away by how fast the day has gone. We only have one more session, actually.
Yeah. Great to see all of these lovely demos again. These student ambassadors are really amazing and they put in a lot of effort. And I'm even more excited for our last session because it's not just going to be our last session, but it's also going to be a prelude to something we're going to talk about. Should we leave the excitement for later on, Katie, or should we give a tip of what's coming on board?
I can't wait. I'm too excited. So, if today has piqued your interest, and I'm sure this next session will, we actually have a full event tomorrow, the Azure Developers .NET Aspire Day. So, if you don't know what .NET Aspire is, number one, you're about to learn from Shovik, who's going to give us a great introduction to it. But then tomorrow you can tune in for our full event about .NET Aspire, and I will be sending that link in the chat.
Yeah, you all should definitely be part of that. I promise you're definitely going to enjoy it. But then, hey, my words don't matter. Let's see what Savik's got for us in his session.
Hello everyone, it's another beautiful day to learn about .NET and Azure. In today's episode, I'm here with Sovik. Hi Sovik, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jafid. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. Would you like to tell us about yourself?
So my name is Shovik Singh. I am currently a beta Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. I have been residing in India for now, and currently I'm working as a software intern at Kleros. It's a company in Poland, I guess. That's what they say. So,
Great. And it's really amazing to have you in this episode. In Sovik's session, he's going to show us how to utilize .NET Aspire. For those of you who are not conversant with .NET Aspire, it's an amazing, cool technology. And Sovik has decided to show us how it works and the amazing stuff that you can do with it. He's going to be deploying a .NET Aspire solution to Azure Container Apps using the Azure Developer CLI. Sovik, passing over to you. Let's see what you've got.
perfect. So today we'll be learning about how we can deploy a .NET Aspire solution to Azure Container Apps using Azure Developer CLI. But before we proceed further, we need to have some prerequisites for .NET Aspire installed in our systems. So let me just guide you through that once. So the first prerequisite that we need is the .NET 8 SDK. For example, if you're working with Windows 11 or a modern processor, you can simply download the x64 .NET 8 SDK for Windows. That should work. And simply just download the installer, follow the instructions, and you can simply set it up on your machines. The second thing that we'll be needing is Visual Studio 2022. Just like the last .NET 8 SDK, we just have to download the installer, follow the instructions, and it's good to go on your systems. The third thing that we'll be needing for the .NET Aspire is Docker Desktop. And the last and the most important is the .NET Aspire workload. So I'll be showing a demonstration of how you can guys install the .NET Aspire workload on your systems. It can be a little confusing sometimes. So heading right into my terminal, that is 1 second. Make sure you have your terminal opened in your admins just to be on the safe side that you don't have to go through any administrative permissions. So the first thing that we have is the .NET Aspire workload. To set it up on your systems, we need to have the terminal open. The first step that we need to do is we need to update the .NET workloads that we already have on systems. So the command for that is .NET workload and update. Oh, I messed up. .NET workload update. You can see in a few seconds, you will see that a message will be displayed that it has been successfully updated, and perfect. And the next thing that we need to do is we need to actually install the .NET Aspire workload. How do we do that? Is with a command that says .NET workload install Aspire. Since I have already installed it on my systems, I'm getting this prompt that says I've already installed it. It will take a few seconds for you guys to install the .NET Aspire workload through this command. And then the next thing, just to verify that you guys have successfully installed the .NET Aspire workload, what you guys can do is write the command .NET workload list. You should see the detail of the .NET Aspire workload. Mine says it's Aspire 8.0.2. So I have already installed the prerequisites on my local machine. So we are just going to give an overbrief about what exactly we'll be doing in this tutorial. That is, we'll be learning about how we can deploy a .NET Aspire solution to Azure Container Apps using the Azure Developer CLI. So we won't be creating a .NET solution from scratch, but instead we'll be using or leveraging the Microsoft's GitHub repository, which has an already built .NET Aspire solution. What you guys can do is you can choose a folder of your choice. Just move to a directory. I'll just select my desktop. Then I can create a folder, maybe a folder that says MS Learn. We can go to MS Learn once. CD, one second. CD MS Learn. And now you can just create the repository that is git clone -p, name the branch of your choice. We are naming it as Aspire Azure deployment. And now we are going to paste the link of our GitHub repository. That is so in a few seconds, you will have the repository downloaded on your system. Now, what you need to do is, so now that you have the GitHub repository cloned on your local system, what you can do is open it on your VS Code, click on Open Local Folder, select where you have cloned the project, clone the repository. We can click on this. As you can see, we have opened the repository that we just cloned in VS Studio. Click on Start, and you can find the eShop.Azure deployment solution. That's what we'll be working with. We click on Open. Now that you have that .NET solution open on your local system, on your VS Studio, you can click on Debug. But before we start debugging or running it on your local system, we need to have our Docker running. So we'll just resume this. Perfect. So you might ask, why do we need Docker for this? So the GitHub repository that we just cloned has some of the dependencies that needs Docker to be running in the background. So we click on debug, and now we can just click on start debugging. As you can see, it will take a few seconds and just as we are done with the building process, we will be shown a browser on our screen. We'll just wait for that. This might take a few minutes. So you can see we have a browser opened. So the app starts and displays the .NET Aspire dashboard. You can click on any of the endpoints of your choice. There are two. You can click on any one of your choice. Now, as you can see, it has a web app open. It's still loading. As you can see, it's an e-commerce website for skiing products and equipment. You can click on it. You have a little description. We have the brand, the picture. So explore the web app if you want. The very next step that we'll be doing is we'll be installing the Azure Developers CLI. That is what we'll be working with. So now that we have our .NET solution ready, we just need to have our Azure Developer CLI installed on our local system. So how do we do that? First, we have to close the web browser tabs, and we have to close our Visual Studio. The next thing we have to open our terminal in admin. Then all we need to do is we need to write winget install and micro Microsoft.azd. It will take a few seconds, and you can see, since I've already installed it, it says found an existing package already installed. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to log into our Azure using our Azure credentials. So to do that, we write the command azd auth login. Uh, you can pick the account of your choice. And as you can see, it says authentication is complete. As you can see in the terminal as well, it says logged in to Azure. Perfect. So now that we have installed the Azure Developer CLI and we have our .NET solution ready on our systems, we can get into initializing the deployment. So to do that, the first step is going to the directory where we cloned the sample application from Microsoft. So for me, it was in cd ms learn, then cd ms learn aspire starter. It was in, then the next folder that you need to go, the next folder that we need to navigate to is the app host project that lies in the start folder. So we write cd start, and then we write cd eshop dot app host. Perfect. Now that we are into the directory that we cloned from Microsoft, we are just going to initialize it using the command azd init. As you can see, the Azure Developer CLI asks you how to initialize the app. So press enter to use the current directory. That's what we are doing. It will take a few seconds, and the CLI, the Azure Developer CLI, scans the code in the current directory to check for a .NET Aspire solution and ask you to confirm if you want to continue. So it will take a while for you guys as well. So now that you can see we have detected a service, a .NET Aspire solution, you can select the prompt asking to confirm and continue the initializing the app. We have to put a name. Maybe we can put MS Learn Aspire. Perfect. We have successfully generated the necessary files and completed the initialization. Now we can directly get into the deployment of the app to Azure Container Apps. So to do that, the first command that we have to run is azd up. So the Azure Developer CLI analyzes the app and prompts you to choose a subscription plan for Azure. You can use the arrow key to detect and select the subscription of your choice. For me, it's just taking some time. Give it a second. For me, I already have a Visual Studio Enterprise subscription going on. So I'll select that. Perfect. Then the next, it prompts you to choose a Azure location, choose the nearest. So it's the same for me. Now, it will take a while for you guys to the Azure Developer CLI. It takes a while for deployment to show success, and but I have already deployed the same .NET solution onto my Azure. So let's just test the deployment once. So for me, when you open your Microsoft Azure, you can see a resource group. You can also see the name of our Aspire solution, that is MS Learn Aspire. Here it's still deploying, so we're not going to open that. I already have one deployed. So we'll just open this. We'll select web apps, and beside the .NET Aspire dashboard, you will see Open Dashboard option. Click on this. Just click on Continue to Site. Nothing to worry about. So as you can see, we have the .NET Aspire dashboard running in the Azure subscription. You can select the endpoints of the web app container. Click on this, and you will see we have the web app displayed. If you notice the URL, you can easily understand that it's running on the Azure containers. Now that we have finished the .NET Aspire solution, you can clean up your Azure subscription by deleting the name of your Aspire resource group. Also, I'll really encourage you guys to try it yourself. You can go to this Microsoft Learn module, and you can learn about how you can deploy a .NET Aspire solution to Azure Container Apps using Azure Developers CLI. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's pretty simple. That's it. Yep.
Now that was so cool, Savik. Thank you very much for showing us how we can actually be able to host our own .NET Aspire solution. That website, by the way, looks cool. I'm sure a lot of people, including myself, I'm going to try it, and I'm sure a lot of persons who are watching this specific stream are also going to try it out to see how to deploy theirs. The link to the Learn module, which Savik shared with you all, would be in the description of this video. So please be sure to check it out. Thank you very much again, Savik, for showing us this. We really appreciate, and see you all in the next episode. Bye.
Shovik, thank you so, so much. That was an awesome, awesome way to kick off all of our learnings, and also tomorrow's event all about .NET Aspire. I know Javlit has lost his video, unfortunately, so I'll be closing us out today. I want to remind you all that we do have our event tomorrow on .NET Aspire. We sent that AKA in the chat. Definitely check it out. It starts at 4:30 p.m. UTC. And for all of our students who submitted those sessions for today, you did an amazing job. Thank you so much. I know I learned a ton about building .NET and Azure applications, about building AI applications, cloud-ready applications. There was so much that went into those sessions, and I appreciate all your hard work. For those tuning in, we will be chopping up those different sessions and posting them in a playlist after the event. So definitely stay tuned and be sure to check those out so you can go back and do all of the demos that you saw today. Thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and I hope you learned something new. Have a good one.